Happy New Year! If you are new here, my name is Rebecca and I am a writer who also happens to have ADHD. I want to start this off by saying I'm not a doctor or a mental health professional, so if you are looking for professional advice, please seek a physician. I'm only sharing my experiences as an ADHD creative. I really want to thank you guys for being so patient with me for the past year while I've been kind of silent. I'm kind of calling it jokingly my year of silence. But if you don't know, I started a company that launches this month, and it's truly a game changer for writers with any sort of intersectionality, especially my neurodivergent creatives. You guys know how much I love you. So my business is called Roundtable Editorial, and the whole thing is that you get a team of editors for your manuscript, and you're included in roundtable discussions. You get to pick your lead editor based on your own interests, and they will form a team based on the edits that your manuscript personally needs, which means not only are you getting professional editors for your manuscript, you're getting sensitivity readers. You're getting people who will understand where you're coming from, and you're getting people who will give you a new perspective for your story. It's really everything all rolled up into one, and it's also more efficient because different editors are looking for different types of edits. So you're probably going to get your manuscript back a lot sooner with much more professionally edited edits than you might get with a single editor, just because everyone's human. So I hope you guys are excited for this as I am. I've been so excited to share this with you. I am ecstatic that I can finally put this out there and say officially that we are launching this month on January 16th. Please check out rtediting.com. That is rtediting.com if you want to learn anything new about that. If you want to meet my co-owners, we will be doing a live stream. We'll be doing a Q&A. All sorts of things coming up for you guys to learn more about that. Thank you so much, and I can't wait to see how this goes, and I'll keep you guys updated on it. But that being said, let's get into today's topic because it's one that's bothering me even right now. So, oh my gosh, officially welcome to Season 1, Episode 1 of ADHDwriter, the series where I will talk about the challenges I face as a writer with brain divergence. Season 1 is really all about sensitivities, and I don't just mean emotional sensitivities. Today, specifically, I'm talking about noises. And there are certain noises that just really set back my writing and creative process, and they end in just disasters, and then other noises that really actually help me get through it and help me concentrate. If you're neurodivergent, you can probably relate to a lot of these, but first I want to address something. Sensitivities are not exclusive to ADHD. Those with ASD can experience similar sensitivities, and I want to make it clear that I don't equate the two. But I do want to address the overlap because I think they get confused due to a lot of mass spread popular media. TikTok, anyone? Those videos are amazing for introducing people to the world of ASD, ADHD, DID, things like that. But because the videos are so short, people are left to draw a lot of their own conclusions. So I do just want to say that they can be different, they can be similar. It doesn't mean that if you have one of these things, you automatically also have autism, but it can mean it. So I just want to put that out there. I'm not the only one that experiences this. And I am ADHD, not ASD, as far as I know. So I do also want to say those who are not neurodivergent can experience sensitivities as well. This is not a diagnostic criteria. It is just something more commonly experienced by those with some sort of neurodivergence. That being said, let's get into some brain science. We're becoming more and more aware of what ADHD is and what it is not. What it is not, for instance, is a disorder of attention deficit like the name says. It is instead an issue that affects our control of where our attention goes and what's most important to focus on. For instance, the ADHD brain wants to focus on the most interesting thing, and sometimes that's hard to find, so we end up noticing every single detail. And there's a lot more I can unpack about that sentence, but right now we're talking about sensitivities, remember? So I'm just gonna go over the noises that I tend to focus on, and it is just noises for now. There's gonna be more videos down the road of other sensitivities I latch onto. Unfortunately, it does mean that those details that we zoom into and latch onto can be way more of an issue for our brains than the average brain, especially when we're trying to focus on something else. It stops the other point of focus completely in its tracks. If you've ever been in class, and you hear someone tapping their pencil, that's really obnoxious, right? That's obnoxious for everyone, probably whether or not you're neurodivergent. But for the neurodivergent person, it can become the entire focal point of the class, and you have no clue what's going on in chemistry, and you end up getting a D. Not talking from personal experience, definitely. Noises become an extreme point of overstimulation. The sensitivity to noise is called misophonia, and though many ADHDers complain of this comorbidity, scientists are still looking into the connection between the two disorders, though the correlation is pretty high. Misophonia is known to trigger the fight, flight, freeze response in sufferers and can result in extreme emotional responses like anxiety, irritation, aggravation, disgust, or impatience. I personally experience creative freeze when I try to write through noise sensitivity. The one I personally have the most issue with is kind of weird. I have a lot of issues with music, not even while I'm just writing, but in general. But especially when I'm writing because I'm already being stimulated enough by other things. So I'm extremely reactive to any type of music. It elicits an extreme emotional response from me. I have memories from childhood of having to leave a room where my parents are playing music because I would be moved to hiccuping sobs. Music I don't like makes me extremely annoyed or even angry. If a song comes on while I'm writing specifically, I will have to stop for the day because it really sets me back emotionally. It really gets me out of that zone, and it's extremely hard for me to zoom back in. If you've ever been interrupted during a hyper focus and it pulls you completely out of it, you know how difficult it can be to get back into it. And I actually haven't heard of this one because a lot of the writers I follow or research will make playlists for their books that put them in the mood of the story. And I've never been able to experience what that's like. I'm a little jealous, but I don't even know what I'm jealous of because I just get annoyed with the music. So it's kind of this dichotomy of I'm jealous, but I can't be jealous because I don't like it. So why would I be jealous of something I don't like? Yeah, catch-22 kind of happening there in my brain. The one story I really like to use that I think illustrates this sort of sensitivity perfectly is actually something that happened to me in my last semester of college. My professor wanted to play a song to illustrate how words can elicit a strong emotional pull, and that's what we should try to do with our writing. But I think we all know that when music is involved, it heightens the words. So even if you're not necessarily paying attention to what's being said, the music itself can elicit a strong emotion. So paired together, it's completely different than a book, I think, in my personal opinion. A song is very different from an audiobook, I think. So the song he was going to play was a very popular song. We'd all heard it. We didn't need to re-listen to it. It's one of those songs that you would know the words to. It was played all the time a couple of years ago. Literally one of the most popular songs, top 10 charts all the time. So I asked this professor not to. This was before I realized that I had this sensitivity to music. I knew that I personally had a strong emotional reaction to music. I didn't know what it was called. I didn't know what was causing it. I just asked him not to because I knew my personal response to it. And he refused. He refused and said that I should leave the class if I didn't want to listen. I didn't want to leave since it was one of my last classes that I needed to graduate and we had an assignment due later. So instead, I stayed and it's a workshop class. So I cried like this. He put on the music video with it as well. So it was the lyrics, the music, and this very emotional music video. And I absolutely bawled for the next 2 hours, because it's a workshop class and that's how long those classes are. I cried for the next 2 hours and I couldn't participate in the assignment for the rest of the day. And no doubt he thought I was being a little ridiculous, and I couldn't tell him because I didn't have the vocabulary that my ADHD was causing a lot of sensitivities, and that we could have learned this lesson either on our own time or we had already learned the lesson because we were a college level writing class. But there are noises that actually help me write, and this also might be kind of weird and counterintuitive. I don't know if you do this. Let me know if you do in the comments below, because this is so specific. But instead of music, I actually listen to podcasts, but they have to have extremely specific qualities. Like, it has to be a podcast that holds my interest, but not too heavily. They have to be understimulating enough to allow me to multitask, but not so understimulating that I'd never listen to it outside of writing. But if someone is physically in the room next to me talking, I can't write. I get way too distracted. I don't know what makes it different from a podcast, but it's very different. Maybe with a podcast, I can pause it whenever I need to. I can turn the volume down. I can turn it up. I can have it at the perfect sort of speed that I need it to be. And it's not so important that I listen. So I'm not thinking like, oh crap, maybe I should actually hear what this person is saying. I can't write if I hear AC or a TV that's on but not playing anything. It makes like this high-pitched screeching sound. You have to know what I'm talking about. It's like the mosquito ring. I hate it. But what I do to cover that stuff up is I have this big loud box fan that my friends have called the industrial box. It's really loud. I sleep with it too, because if Lord help me, if there is like blinds tapping together or anything making any sort of noise while I'm trying to sleep, I will wake up and I won't be able to get back to sleep. I already have sleeping issues, but thankfully I have found the fan helps immensely with everything, with waking hours and sleeping hours. It's my saving grace. And the one noise I can say that is up there with music for me is the sound of chewing. Oh, like I can't even think about it, right? Oh my God. Chewing really, oh, it takes me out of every single groove. Emperor's New Groove, out of it. Gone. I can't do it. Chewing. But like pots clinking together when people are like cleaning or cooking, I'm fine with that. That's fine. I can write with that in the background. Make it make sense. I don't know. ADHD, neurodivergence, it doesn't make sense. Another thing about the talking, going back to that, is that if two or more people are talking at a time, I can't listen to either of them. I have no clue what they're saying. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't sound like English or any other language that I would know. I only know English, but like if I spoke Spanish, I wouldn't recognize two people speaking Spanish at the same time. It just becomes way too overstimulating, and parties are a little bit of a nightmare in that way. Once it gets an hour or two into the party, I just sit down and I'm just listening to the noise as a whole. It's no longer singular people talking anymore. It's just one big giant roar, which is extremely overwhelming. So as you can probably tell, noises are extremely linked to my emotions. I notice all the smaller noises that the one noise has within it because of how good my brain is at zooming into details. And it's so easy for me to latch on to that background noise and let it drive me wherever it happens to go, whether that's to annoyance or to distraction or both. Wherever it wants to take me, it absolutely has the power to. And this is where ADHD becomes a bit of a catch-22, right? Because the ADHD brain is understimulated most of the time. It's chronically understimulated. That's what the disorder is. So it's looking for the details, but some of those details are annoying, so they pull us in and become overstimulating as our focus zooms in and in and in until it's the focal point of our existence. But it's important to know you can ask for accommodations for any sensitivities you experience, especially if you're in school and you need to take a test in a controlled environment. And if someone doesn't take your request seriously and you can't take yourself out of the situation, try to make it a habit to bring headphones with you that you can use to up the volume. Try using earplugs that block out some of the noise. If you work, there's also workplace accommodations you can request, like being seated far from the AC, or explain the benefits of noise canceling headphones for your workflow, because maybe your coworkers will actually thank you for that. Lord knows if I have to hear rolly chairs all day, I might just go crazy. I might just snap. If you're a neurodivergent creative with specific auditory needs, search for the background noise that works with your mind and make a checklist of your do's and don'ts. I, for instance, really, really love when there's ambient noise. I can't go to a cafe because there's too many people talking and I'll zoom in on conversations, or I won't be able to hear all the minutia. I really, really love noises like the wind, things like that. There are just certain things that I can pinpoint to and say that is where I can go and have a safe writing space. And that's so important if you have a neurodivergency. So find those areas, hold them dear, make a list so that you don't forget because of object permanence. Keep them close. There are also so many jobs that work well with noise sensitivities. Neurodivergents with noise sensitivities might be amazing musicians or work well with people, since we can hear the nuance in human speech, making us great at being empathetic, identifying whether someone's uncomfortable or if they need to tell us something more than they're letting on. For us writers who work in stereotypically silent environments, it's imperative to find the noises that don't trigger an extreme response that can throw us out of the creative process. Bringing awareness to sensitivities as part of being a neurodivergent brain allows us to shed the self-criticism of being overly emotional, instead leaving room for actionable changes we can make on behalf of our highly creative and unique brains. And that is all I have for you on noise sensitivities today, creatives. If you are looking for me outside of YouTube, you can look for me on Instagram and look up the business I've started for writers in the links below. All of my sources for this video are listed there too. See you next Monday, creatives. Bye.